Hello everyone, Professor William Watkin here, and welcome to the second chapter in my ongoing series of films investigating anti-social media. The topic of this chapter is trolls, episode 3, A History of Trolling. Today we use the term trolling to refer to any kind of combative behaviour online, but it can also mean simply taking on an inauthentic digital persona as well, and the two are often connected. You freak out online by exaggerating your response to something. Trolling can be associated with bullying and hate crime. It's also made of lying or fakery. Fake news is trolling, hacking is trolling, clickbaiting is trolling, memes can be trolling. Since the term went mainstream 3 to 4 years ago, trolling has become ubiquitous in online culture, for the simple reason that if we take trolling these days to mean adopting a fake persona, an exaggerated version of yourself, a right-winger who purposely baits liberals to get a reaction, or a liberal who overreacts to this baiting to shame the right, then it has to be said that we're all fake on social media, and that social media is therefore basically a platform for trolls. Trolling is important because it tells us something about our capacity for hate, speaks to the problem of online inauthenticity, and is increasingly political, sharply dividing between the outrage of the alt-righter over political correctness and the self-righteousness of the liberal snowflake over every perceived slight on their identity rights. I think we're all aware of some aspect of trolling, but where does the term come from and when did it all begin? Now, there are those who will say that trolling is as old as humanity itself. Bullying, mocking, shaming and faking are sadly things that make us the human beings we are. If my theory is right, that social media is basically the digital staging, monetization and then enhancement of a basic human behaviour, friendship in Facebook, showing off displays on Instagram or gossip on Twitter, then trolling is the inevitable consequence of this idea. If Instagram is the platform for the beautiful among us, then trolling also has its platform for the ugliness within us all, which is the infamous B forum on the equally infamous 4chan platform. 4chan began in 2003 as a site to post not suitable for work content, and B became a forum where literally anything goes. It was from the community of trolls on B who eventually adopted a group persona called Anonymous that many of the most successful trolling campaigns came about, and these were often directed at mainstream American media, in particular Fox, who were trying to build up a moral panic around 4chan at the time, something the trolls were only too happy to help out with, albeit with fake news, hacking and general skullduggery. The beginning of the century then were the golden years of trolling, and most trolls remain peeved that the term has since been adopted by people outside of their secretive subculture. So who are trolls? Trolls are a closed community of very active online early adopters. They are the bedroom innovators of so much online culture, most notably memes, clickbaiting, and of course cyberbullying. They are the dark geeks of the dark net, but they don't see themselves as evil, but in some sense campaigners against the hypocrisy, excessive sensitivity, and indeed greed of mainstream online culture. They can hack. They spend a lot of time alone in their room. They probably play MMOs. They've been online since the late 90s. They're regular contributors to forums such as 4chan. They do not look kindly on strangers or inexperienced web users who stray onto their patch. They see themselves as subcultural, on the fringes of mainstream society. Trolls are childish in terms of their humour, but sophisticated in terms of the application of their humour. They're always anonymous and increasingly self-identify as a single, nasty hive mind called, as I said, Anonymous. The community is a self-styled digital avant-garde, and there's no doubt that they are astonishingly creative. Yet in terms of the basis of their humour, they often reflect the very mainstream ideas that they claim to hack. Sexism, homophobia, racism, or just picking on people because they look different, and so on. In a simple sense, the original trolls used their tech savvy to bully the culture that might otherwise have picked on them. That said, in that they're secretive, anonymous, faking it, provoking, tricksters, there may be none of the above. It's possible that all the data they've provided, from which experts build their portrait, is itself one massive troll on experts and expertise for the sake of having a laugh. The term troll was possibly used for the first time in 1992 to refer to negative online behaviour. That said, trolling appears to be as old as the net itself. Those very first adopters and developers of the internet were scientists, and while they used forum to share data, they rapidly descended into flaming each other in the most unprofessional yet, if you're an academic like I am, not unexpected fashion. Some think this kind of behaviour is called trolling because of mythological Norse beasts. Others see it as originating from the fishing technique of baiting a line behind a boat. Both seem very relevant. Indeed, an early piece on trolling defined it as fishing for flames, and this still stands today as a good definition of trolling through the ages. Trolls are baiting the gullible, the self-righteous, the dim, the credulous, the morally superior, so as to upset them and, in so doing, get pleasure for themselves. This pleasure is called lulz, a mysterious term that may originate from, or indeed be the basis of, lols, or laugh out loud. Lulz are like lols, only nastier. It's the laughter of cruelty, not of jollity. Trolls have a long-standing hate relationship with the media. Successful late 90s trolling campaigns were very, very powerful in instigating MSM moral panics around inventing drugs and at times weird sexual activities. But trolls did not self-identify as a subcultural community until after the founding of 4chan, leading to a decade or so of the term being the preserve of what we should call perhaps real trolls or the original trolls. During this time, trolls not only harried the media into submission and ruined the life of countless naive 4chan noobs, they also invented meme culture, and they were the originators of things like lolcats and rickrolling. It's generally felt that the exclusively subcultural elements of trolling came to an end around 2012, and that by 2015 or so the term had gone mainstream. But this was not the end of trolling. There was at least one last great lulz left, the greatest lulz of all time, and that was the hacking of the US election and the rise of Trump as the uber troll. Trolling did not make this happen, but I believe without trolling, the cultural circumstances for Trump's election would not have existed, and certainly many of the hackers involved were not strangers to the world of 4chan. What is Trump, after all, but a living meme? He's an exaggerated persona, except that appears to actually be his persona. He became infamous through baiting the liberal left. His is a politics of hate and social exclusion, and most significantly of all, he rose to power by trolling the MSM through his mastery of that most troll-friendly of all the social media giants, Twitter. Trump may not be part of the trolling subculture, but he is the greatest source of lulz the trolls have ever known. So if trolling is all about the lulz, and now we have a politics of trollsters and meme weavers to replace the old politics of pollsters and spin doctors, if lulz have become a political currency, perhaps the political driver of our populist age, what is our very own Brexit after all but a mass troll on democracy by the socially excluded of the marginalised North, then we now need to ask the question, what are lulz and how did they come to slay us all? Thanks everyone for listening. If you enjoyed that content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And also, if you want more of the same, check out those little links at the bottom of the screen.